As you know, we had to change tonight's time because we're under a curfew, and that's an interesting place to be. I was leaving the center the other night with Jimmy, and it was around 7:45, maybe 10 minutes to 8. And it's just a 10-minute block, 10-minute walk rather, and dozens and dozens of bicyclists were coming down Amsterdam Avenue, and it started to feel really strange. And for the first time I could understand, that I wasn't feeling safe. And that was a different reality for me. It was just, I thought, wow, this is really happening here on the Upper West Side. People have a need to protest, and I get that. And I don't understand the need for looting and violence. I've never quite figured that out. So we're here tonight, a couple hours early, with our message. And our message is always going to be about hope, and it's going to be about healing, and it's going to be trying to find the good in any and all situations. I'm going to start with a affirmative prayer. I know Seth did one that was nice by Dr. Holmes. Frankie Timmers is a person that I've known for many years. She was taught by Bill Tolliver, like myself, back probably in the late 80s, early 90s. And what she wrote I thought was pretty good. It's great, so I'll share it with you. She wrote, "In this moment, I withdraw my attention from the outer world of chaos, and I bring my attention to the inner world of absolute truth and peace. Here, I find sustenance, true sustenance. I go to the infinite well of all that is good and fill up on all that I need to be, and fill up in such a way to know that I need to be of even greater service. I know I am called to be part of the healing, or I would not be here. And I'm called to be part of the rebirth that is taking place in the world everywhere. I let go of anything and everything that is holding me back. In my newfound freedom, I know I have some kind of a gift to bring, something that's unique. And being true to my soul's purpose, I step into service with love, with power, grace, and as the healing presence that the universe instilled in me to be. I witness instant and powerful demonstrations. I let action come from truth within me in a way that's powerful and infused with love and compassion, and reflecting a vision that demonstrates a world that works for everyone. Grateful to serve with a pure heart, I can see that healing in me and the healing outside me are the same thing, that it begins and ends with me. Letting the law demonstrate this treatment in the highest and best ways, I no longer see chaos. Healing takes place in most glorious ways. And for that I am so grateful. Even deeper is my kinship and gratitude for all those in this with me, with us. And so it is.
So it is.
So I like that. I hope you did too. So we have a lesson, God, the good, the God. We don't really go too much into the problem, because we understand that we are creators in life. Where other people go low, we can go high. We have the ability to take the conversation always to a higher place. But I will mention today, this week, I'll go off script a little bit with that, because events being what they are, I think, at least need to be acknowledged, if nothing else. There are times when we speak, and this is one of them. On May 25th, there are times when we speak, and this is one of them. On May 25th, a man died. George Floyd, a black man, after being handcuffed and held to the ground at the knee of a policeman, a white man. His cries for help were ignored, bystander pleas for mercy, and his resulting death reflects deeply ingrained, long-standing divisions in parts of America, perhaps beyond America. And it comes at a time when the pandemic has given rise to hate across the world. People seem to be afraid of different cultures and peoples and fears. And there's acts of violence going on across the nation. And this is kind of very sad to many of us. Even though we might be people who know the truth, here we teach the truth, we don't want to be ignorant of the facts on the ground of where things are. What helps me, as a younger man, I remember reading a book. It's been said in different ways by different authors, different things. The Celestine Prophecy taught us to take the long view. And by that it meant, from a distance, everything is healed. Over the span of generations, there's corrections, and life evolves, and it gets better for everyone. I was thinking of my own roots, because I remember my grandparents talking about the Catholics coming into America, and the time how we were referred to as the black Catholics. And we got here a lot later than slavery, but we were very unwelcome. And there was discrimination because we were different. They thought that the Roman Catholic Church was going to rule America once upon a time. And when we elected Kennedy, the papists were going to run the country. I mean, there's been discrimination of every kind by everybody, it seems, and yet we are a wonderful nation of immigrants, and most of us get along pretty well. But there is this situation that needs to be spoken of and addressed, especially today. Mr. Floyd's death and other similar crimes are yet another reminder that we have a long, long way to go. And we must continue to listen to people, all kinds of people, gay people, black people, brown people, Chinese people, Indian people. There's no group that we want to ignore. Everybody's kinds of people, gay people, black people, brown people, Chinese people, Indian people. There's no group that we want to ignore. Everybody's a part of this one human family. And we want to have a world that's safe for everybody. Martin Luther King once said, Jr. said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." As an organization and as a community, we stand in unity with people of color now and any race and every race. We know all are one with us in our human family. We heal and grow by together listening to one another and learning from one another. And by having sometimes difficult, certainly courageous conversations. And for us, we are the lucky ones, those in our audience, because you guys are the truth students. You guys really, you know the stuff, And if you're here in our audience, that would suggest you're practitioners of truth to varying degrees, right? So you practice knowing that there's God and good, and every encounter is a holy encounter. We're way, way ahead of the curve in that regard. So we're very, very, very fortunate. So we practice and we cultivate more trusting encounters and giving people a break and listening more. We want people to be empowered. Our teaching is about lifting people out of the stories of separation and to bring them into the idea that they are a light themselves and that everyone is a light, and we're here to help light the lights. We need to do better, though, as a society. And we probably can do better here in our own community as well, though we actively include everyone here and encourage everybody to grow and to evolve. And we'll do better, and all of life is going forward anyway. That's the truth that we know. So we definitely have a leg up, those of us who are here, who attend our classes, who practice, who participate on Sundays. Ernest Holmes once said, regarding the idea of Christianity, which most of us will associate with words like love and forgiveness, Ernest Holmes said, there's nothing wrong with Christianity, except it isn't practiced much anywhere. I remember from my early religious training at Sacred Heart School, 2 ideas, and that's 100 years ago at least. I was told, love Source, love your God with all your heart, all your soul, your mind, and have faith in this presence and this power. This is really the high calling of a practitioner, is to know that this source, this presence, this power is here in you, operating through you and responding to you. Love that and love the law of that and have the faith in that. This, in essence, was the gist of the first commandment, as I recall it. And the second and the more beautiful and more important today was the second. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Loving this presence, loving this power that's in you, operating through you, and loving your neighbor as yourself are the essence of the 2 commandments. And as I recall from my early days, all those years ago, on these 2 ideas depend all the law, depend everything that's been written by the prophets, the wise and prophets and people of old. Love your brother as yourself. We in our teaching know, for we are one with our brother. The separation that people seem to get all caught up in, there is no separation. We're all part of that same human family, and God is in everybody equally and all the time. So we do this at Centers for Spiritual Living. We were envisioned by Holmes to be in the great next spiritual impulsion of the world. We already know this. We practice this. We invite everybody into our conversations. We attempt to lift everybody up as we lift ourselves up. Nobody's left out from what we teach. Not possible. We're not better. We just are on to the idea that there's love and there's law, and you can depend on both. We see a world that works for everyone. Are we there yet in society? Obviously not. Are you there? That's only a question you can answer for yourself. If you are, great. You're definitely a lifter. Anybody that's in this teaching really practicing that you're lifting up humanity, you're really doing a great thing. You might think, oh my God, I'm just going to church. I'm going over there to the Center Spiritually. My goodness, you're coming to this center, you're learning how great you are. You're here to express life and to lift people up and lift life up and lift you. Whatever number of years you have left on planet Earth, you have a great opportunity with this teaching to express life in insanely beautiful, wonderful, creative ways. Our teaching allows us to speak up when we experience or witness things that aren't right, intolerance and mistreatment. But to do so from a calm place. If we're just coming from anger is easy. It's easy. People say stuff and you get annoyed. It's easy to react. That's what the animals do. The man or the woman who can learn to pause, when you first feel that physiological change, your blood starts to boil, where you're about literally to flip your lid. That's when the pot boils and flips. If you can learn to pause, that's really a great thing, because then you can stop the whole story that's going to come right after you flipping your lid with anger. It's going to be called the pause that refreshes. It can be the return home to the realization that all is okay and well. Our teaching allows us to practice the presence and knowing everything's going to be okay. And if we're able to pause and reflect, we can then take constructive action. We can maybe participate in a protest even, but we can do so intelligently and calmly and to be a force for good rather than destruction. Tragedies like this are traumatizing. They can be anyway to many people. Really stir up a lot of stuff. It did in me the other night just walking home. You know, it's really unbelievable. But, you know, you pause for a minute and you reflect, and you know that there is God in this too. And everything that happens ultimately brings us to a higher place. So Ernest Holmes, regarding anger, was suggesting we turn our anger into building blocks, turning the anger into positive for yourself. In the 355, he said, thoughts of greed, selfishness, anger, fear cause congestion in various parts of our body. Our body works natively and naturally to eliminate the poisons of the body. But when our minds are filled with thoughts of anger, rage, hatred, resentment, it is as though we are drinking poisons that are destroying us. It's habitual for many of us, done very unconsciously. So, I know, I can speak for anger. It can get there really quickly. The question is, what do you do when you have that physiological change? Do you immediately go to the blame game? Or do you own the fact that you've just become insane for a moment? So you have anger, okay, you can then just pause and you can think where you want to go with it. Degenerative thinking, degenerative words, Holmes said, and actions can be turned into the most creative, energizing, and vitalizing ideas. Anger can be turned into love, and the very strong emotion, anger, that it has been destroying can be made to build us up, build up the entire body. If we get snagged in anger, we can really feel it. I felt the other night, it's like fearful, unsafe. It's just like, it really was strange, and it happened in like a couple split seconds. So it's physical, it's psychological. If you've done a lot of work on yourself, you'll notice the strong emotion. And here's my notes that I was reminding myself to tell you. When you have that strong emotion, pause, really pause, because you're about to trip. I was saying this to Jimmy yesterday. People get angry, and next thing again, they're flipping their lid. Think of a tea kettle flipping its lid. They're about to blow. If you can slow that down, I've tried to teach that to Joseph this year. Don't take anything personally. Things are happening. Don't take it personally. See what comes up for you. Get curious about what's coming up. Curious about what's really causing you to feel that way. That'll be more instructive to you. Brene Brown, I believe her name is, wrote a book, Rising Strong. And she suggests your first reaction is always going to be the messed up one. She says, like writing the first draft of a book, she says it's crappy. So your first reaction when it comes to anger it's interesting. It's what you do with that is really important. So check it out. I've got some passages from Raymond Charles Barker, but I can maybe close with them. I want to open up the mic to see what some of you might have to say and how you're doing. This evening's session was really more about you, to share where you're at with frustration, anger, what's on your mind, what's in your heart, so you can let it go or talk about it.